When it comes to iconic bands from the 1980s, some of the names that pop into your head might include things like Flock of Seagulls, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Blondie, Bruce Springsteen, and Duran Duran. However, for many people from the Akron area, there's one particular band that stands out among the rest. DEVO began with two Kent State students, Gerald Casale and Bob Lewis, making frequent jokes about the concept of de-evolution, or devolution. Devolution, or the idea that humanity was beginning to regress to a more primitive state, served as a basis for the two's social commentary moving forward. In 1970, the pair would meet with an up-and-coming keyboardist, Mark Mothersbaugh, and the trio would soon become the core of what would be known as DEVO for the next 8 years. They performed throughout Akron and the Cuyahoga Falls area, even recording their first 2 music videos here. Speaking of music videos, DEVO were pioneers in the sense that they were one of the earlier bands to produce their own music videos. Jocko Homo and Secret Agent Man, their first 2 music videos, were both produced locally throughout Akron and Cuyahoga Falls. Their later music videos, like the one for Whip It, would be directed by Gerald Casale himself, who would go on to direct videos for bands like The Cars, Rush, and Foo Fighters. Things would change for DEVO in 1976, when they put those first 2 music videos together into one cohesive short film, The Truth About Devolution. After winning an award at a film festival, The Truth About Devolution would get the interest of world-famous rock stars David Bowie and Iggy Pop. Bowie and Iggy, enamored with DEVO's style, passed a recommendation along to Warner Music. Soon, DEVO would be offered the record contract that would change the course of their entire lives. In 1978, DEVO dropped their first album, Are We Not Men, We Are DEVO. Shortly after, they appeared on Saturday Night Live to perform their famous cover of I Can't Get No Satisfaction. They were seriously starting to take off in a major way. However, nothing would compare to what would happen when their third album, Freedom of Choice, dropped in 1980.
They are without a doubt one of the most talked about rock groups in recent years, and their unique appearance and unusual music have made them a sure sellout attraction at arenas across this country. Would you please welcome DEVO?
The third song on the album, Whip It, would go on to become one of the defining songs of the 1980s. The reliance on synthesizers combined with the inclusion of traditional acoustic drum presented a style that shaped the new wave movement. Whip It was foundational for the band, and the song would peak at number 14 on the US Billboard Hot 100. Throughout the rest of the 1980s, DEVO would enjoy mainstream popularity, producing 4 albums during the decade that would be met with less and less acclaim. Finally, in 1990, DEVO released their album Smooth Noodle Maps, which would be the worst received DEVO project to date. Just a year after its release, DEVO would announce they would be taking a hiatus. Smooth Noodle Maps would be the last album DEVO would release for 20 years. The success of DEVO propelled each band member's individual career. Mark Mothersbaugh, along with his brother Bob Mothersbaugh and Bob Casale, the both of them referred to as Bob 1 and Bob 2 respectively, formed Mutato Musica, a music production company. Mutato Musica was responsible for the soundtracks of many recognizable projects, including Pee-wee's Playhouse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Regular Show, and The Sims. Gerald Casale would become a prolific music video and commercial director, a field he would work in for the next decade and a half. Finally, in the late 2000s, rumors emerged of DEVO working on new material. This would be confirmed with the release of 2010's Something for Everybody. The album was rated well and would remind the world that DEVO still existed. However, the triumph from this return would be short-lived, as Bob Casale would soon pass away from heart failure in 2014. Since then, the band has reappeared sporadically, including a partnership with Trust Me Vodka and even a line of Funko Pops. Since 2018, DEVO has been nominated for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 3 different times. Around Akron, people remember DEVO fondly. It's hard not to mention them in discussions about popular music of the time. For a bit, the impact they had was very apparent, at least in one part of the city. Until 2022, a mural outside of the Akron Civic Theater depicted an iconic photo from the band's early days. It depicted the members of DEVO outside of a sandwich shop, a place where they'd go right after shows at the theater next door. The mural stood as a way for Akron to honor some of its favorite sons, and to remind the world of the yellow jumpsuited men with the funny hats that told us all to whip it into shape.